Hi everybody, welcome to Current Events. Today we're going to read the Driftless Journal from Tuesday, November 3rd and the Decorah Public Opinion from Thursday, November 5th. On the front cover of the Driftless Journal, there's an article about a family that bought a duplex together. Not exactly huge news there. But then there's also native seed business blossoms in Spring Grove. That's kind of interesting. So I'll read that one. At one time, tall grass prairies and other native plant species blanketed millions of acres from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. Less than 1% of those original acres remain, but a Spring Grove, Minnesota company is working on changing that. Shooting Star Native Seeds was first established in 1989. The name comes from the Midland shooting star, an early season blooming flower that can blossom in shades of purple, pink, and white. The business's founding partners, Howard Dieters and Jim Hunsicker, started their careers in traditional agriculture, but when they discovered native plant species were almost unavailable, they decided to do something about it. They first harvested a few species from the remnants of prairies along the Mississippi River Valley and planted them in small test plots on their farm in Spring Grove. Let's see. Continued on page 14. Gotta find page 14. Let's see, here we go. Over the years, small plots expanded into larger production fields, and we added employees and equipment as needed along the way. The company now works with over 300 types of native grass and wildflower seeds and manages approximately 2,500 acres of land in native seed production. Native plants are species that grew naturally throughout North America before European settlement. Most of these native plant ecosystems were destroyed in the mid-1800s as production farming expanded and cities grew. Now one of the largest employers in Spring Grove, Shooting Star is making a positive impact on the environment with the seeds they produce and sell. Native plants can create or enhance an ideal habitat for wildlife, says Utstun. With the right diversity of native plants in your landscape, you can provide protective cover for many animals and a food source for mammals, insects, and birds. You will also provide nectar for hummingbirds and butterflies, as well as larval host plants for butterfly caterpillars. The native plants also provide effective erosion control thanks to a deep root structure. In many of the native prairies across the Midwest, up to 70% of the biomass of the prairie is below ground. These deep root systems help stabilize the soil and eliminate erosion problems near lakes, streams, and rivers. Utstuen noted that native species require less maintenance and upkeep. Native plants can generally thrive with little to no maintenance when grown in the right environmental conditions. Their deep root structure allows them to survive droughts and flooding, as well as flourish with a little help from chemical applications. They're also beautiful to look at. Native plant communities consist of colorful flowers and majestic grasses that constantly change throughout the growing season. They create a beautiful landscape that can be enjoyed for all generations. Well, that's exciting to have a company like that so close to Decorah. All right. There was a trick-or-treat haunted house type thing at Lake Meyer. I guess it's drive-boo thrills at Lake Meyer. So we've got some fun photos. There's a dog dressed up as a lion. Some people in canoes, or is it scarecrows in canoes? Someone dressed up as an eagle. And we've got a dinosaur, Viking scarecrow. Oops. Oops. I guess I cannot do this very well because it's backwards. So I showed you the sports section. Sorry. Okay, we go on to the next article. Kalmar's Al Becker has been recognized for lifetime achievements in historic preservation. Winneshiek County Historic Preservation Commission members Ashley Christensen and Kim Glock present Al Becker with a certificate of appreciation for his longtime historic preservation service in Winneshiek County. Congratulations to him. There's a lot to preserve here. He says, my background is history and I'm a retired history teacher. Fort Atkinson was rich with Winnebago and Ho-Chunk history. I started researching the history when I moved here. It led to discovering the Winnebago sub-agency south of Fort Atkinson, where we set up archaeological investigations. Turkey Valley is located within the original site of the neutral ground of the Winnebago Indians who were brought to from 1840 to 1849. I took students to the Goddard Homestead, the sub-agency site at the John Cunin Farm, and the Native American campsite at the Riley Farm. We found many 1840 artifacts, including such items as pipe stems, buttons, and pottery pieces. At Riley Farm, we found a Native American food storage pit where one of the pottery pieces still had seeds in it. Many community members were interested and came out to help. That's really exciting. And congratulations to him to be recognized. All right. They're having a beginning beekeeping workshop on November 12th. You can find out how to get into that field. Let's see. The Fidelity Bank here in Decorah has been named Best Small Bank in Iowa. Congratulations to them. Let's see. A recipe for turkey cheeseburger soup. The Vesterheim receives a grant from the Arts Midwest and the Andrew Mellon Foundation for $50,000. It's to help under-resourced arts and culture organizations weather the COVID-19 crisis. Well, that's wonderful for them because they can't do much if they can't be open. Let's see. Driftless Area Education and Visitor Center is hosting a Driftless Birding Fest November 13th to 14th for raptors in Iowa. Let's see. I don't know what that is, so we go on to see if there's another thing to read. The 4-H Council embarks on area-wide food drive effort. Iowans are invited to join the state 4-H Council in a community effort to donate non-perishable food items throughout the month of November. Maybe we should do that here. Let's see. Echoes of the past. All right, this sounds interesting. 100 years ago, restroom staffed to help women voters. What? I gotta read that one. 100 years ago, beginning October 25th and continuing until Election Day, there will be someone in charge of the restroom each and every afternoon and evening to teach the women of this area how to mark a voting ballot. Okay, maybe a restroom isn't what I'm thinking it is. Maybe it was something else 100 years ago, or maybe it's a Wisconsin term that isn't used here. Someone will have to help me with that one. What was a restroom 100 years ago? Continuing on. Manager R.J. Ralph at the Star Theater is going to see to it in the future that his patrons will not be deprived of a good show in case the picture machine goes wrong, as he has just added an extra piece of equipment of the very latest model of machinery. It was installed last week and will be in use in case of a breakdown of the machine he has been operating. Good deal. Haugens Hall costs Crow's Rag Rouse of La Crosse for a big dance Monday night. Musical sleigh bells, cathedral chimes, and more are promised. Before long, there will be a room arranged at the City Hall, and John Peterson will sleep there and be ready to drive the new fire truck day or night. In the meantime, good drivers are in close proximity to the fire station. The fire department is a true asset to the community. Well, that is true. That territory is situated just across the river north of Decorah that includes Dunning Spring, the famous ice cave, and the hillside above and the bank below the scenic Ice Cave Drive should be a new public park. The Decorah Commercial Club has taken a definite step in getting that territory made into such a park. The committee in charge includes W.F. Baker, L.B. Whitney, and Fred Bierman. I think it worked. A new ladies' hairdressing parlor has been set up over the Brick Store in West Decorah. A full line of creams and powders are available. Shampooing, massaging, manicuring, switch weaving, stems, and ear puffs made to order. Stems and ear puffs made to order. I don't even know what that is. Big news. M. Castle and his wife journeyed to Burr Oak last Saturday night and bought cabbage and popcorn of H. Shelley. That's an interesting food combination. School at the Hill Country School has been closed for 3 weeks as many of the pupils are assisting in the corn husking. Makes sense. A modern new cash system was installed at the Connor Brothers and Knight department store last week. Mr. Knight visited several larger department stores in the Twin Cities and Chicago and decided upon a national cash register similar to those used in the big stores. Customers will not be delayed in waiting for their change from now on. All right. 90 years ago in 1930, below freezing temperatures and some snow flurries provided a first taste of winter here last week. A 5-day open season on shooting pheasants in Winneshiek County has been declared for November 1st, 5th, 6th, 14th, and 15th. Several big breweries are repairing their plants in order to resume the brewing of beer. The Pabst Brewing Company of Milwaukee has recently spent $1 million for just this purpose. Whether this means that the brewers think the Volstead Act will be modified and that prohibition will end, we do not know. If brewing is resumed, the alcoholic content will be 2.75% on the beer. Well, I think it went through because Pabst was a really big thing for a very long time. The sale of some choice property lots in Decorah does not show that there are hard times in this section of the state, and it's pretty good indication that conditions here are in fine shape. All the lots in the original Pleasant Hill addition have now been sold, and only one location is left just north of this housing addition. The Popular Hill The Popular Hill is one of the finest residential sections to be found in any city. It was also reported at a recent Chamber of Commerce meeting that building lots over on the city's west side are also being sold. Yep. The Decorah Rod and Gun Club is hosting a turkey shoot at the hitching grounds next Sunday. The ones who break the most clay pigeons will get a live turkey, then a live duck, then a live chicken. The booby prize is a dozen eggs. I think I'd rather have the booby prize. I don't know. Decorah will soon vote on the $130,000 bond issue for construction of a new addition to the present Decorah High School. Father Kucera is being honored in a farewell dinner at Bethesda Hall in Protivin later this month. The beloved pastor of the past 5 years is Bishop-elect to Lincoln, Nebraska. The Monroe studio has been sold to Harold Ellingson, a local man who has been employed at Sampson's Photo Art Shop here in town. Hard lumber is in great demand in this area, and that's all they say. Okay. A collection belonging to Mr. P.D. Peterson of Eau Claire, Wisconsin has been purchased and added to the Luther College Norwegian American Historical Museum's collection. A handsome profit of nearly $900 was realized from a food stand conducted recently by the local hospital club. A young son of Mr. and Mrs. Alban Nelson, residents of Oak Street here in town, was kicked in the jaw by a cow the other day. He is at the Decorah Hospital. Ouch, that must have really done some damage. A former hardware merchant here has filed bankruptcy in Dubuque. His creditors have been informed. Bartlett Brothers, who recently worked for Cy Hegdvet, lost some of their carpenter's tools in a fire which destroyed a few buildings on East Decorah Township recently. Owing to a short stretch of earth road which becomes soft and muddy every time it rains, many from East Decorah Township are traveling on hard roads instead of usual routes. Wide-tired wagons are used mostly by farmers. Water and narrow tires are destroying those earth roads. Faculty and students at Luther College are shocked to hear of the sudden death of a student last week. The freshman's illness began with an attack of intestinal flu. He underwent emergency operation for appendicitis, which revealed a gangrenous appendix, which caused the young man's death. That's really sad. A contract will be let this week by the Adams Seed and Milling Company of Decorah for the building of a storage tank for blackstrap molasses. The tank will have a capacity of up to 15,000 gallons. That is a lot of molasses. DeWitt's Barber Shop, located next to Grant's Cafe, has a new cure for dandruff. Stop by for a free treatment today. Connor Knight has a new line of form-fit inner belt girdliers for the ladies of the household. Perfect for her. You can't make this stuff up. Misplaced weight. Priced at 98 cents. All right. A benefit dance was held last Saturday night for the John Andersons. The Andersons have been having more than their share of sickness and were presented with the proceeds from the dance put on by friends and neighbors. A fine supper was served at midnight. All right. Then there's a photo of the Briggs store in Old Burr Oak. The Briggs store, called Briggs Daylight Store in Burr Oak back in 1908. J. Edgar and Mildred Lane Briggs lived in Burr Oak in the early 1900s. It is now commonly referred to as the Burr Oak Mercantile. The structure is now a property of the Laura Ingalls Wilder Park and Museum, and restoration efforts are underway, and you can deduct them from your taxes if you make a donation. So there's a photo from 1908. I think I was in there once when it was a restaurant, probably quite some time ago. More than 20 years ago for sure, but maybe 25 years ago. Okay, I think that's it for the Driftless Journal. Oh no, Hawkeye State farmers enjoying an early harvest. And here's a picture of someone harvesting with their nice big combine. All right. Last weekend's snowfall has slowed combine traffic, but the white stuff couldn't stop area farmers from finishing their harvest early this year. Prior to the snow, Iowa farmers were making swift progress on the corn and soybean harvest. In a recent crop progress report from the National Ag Statistics Service, the state's farmers were half done with the corn harvest, while the soybean harvest was rapidly nearing completion. Over the last few weeks, a recent run of dry weather meant farmers had 6 to 7 days each week considered suitable for harvest work. That's great. Some years it's harder than others to get that done. All right, we're gonna go now to the Decorah Public Opinion, see what's on the front page. Election night sees record voter turnout. Okay. President Trump wins Iowa and its 6 electoral votes. All right. We still don't know who's president at the time that I am reading this, but probably by the time that you are hearing this, we will know. All right. Following a pattern from throughout the state, Winneshiek County broke records for voting in this year's election, which is a great thing. A total of 12,143 votes were cast in the county, and 8,842 of those were absentee ballots, and a lot of you did fill those out with myself and Brianna. Winneshiek County Auditor Ben Steins told Decorah newspapers that 11,511 votes were cast in the election 4 years ago, and that the total back in 2016, approximately 6,477 were absentee. The final county vote totals from all 11 precincts in the county were released at approximately 10:30 p.m. All right. And there were, as usual, lots of people working the polls. And those are great volunteers, and we're so thankful to them. Okay. So here are the results. Republican Mike Klimisch in the State Senate District 28 had 5,751 votes compared to Matt Tapscott, the Democratic challenger, with 4,624 votes. The Republican incumbent Michael Bergen in the State Representative District won 5,231 votes over Democratic challenger Kayla Cather with 5,136 votes. That's pretty close. That's under 100 votes. Republican Jane Bloomingdale in the State Representative District 51 with 978 votes over Jane Podjorniak, who had 399. Let's see. Republican Waylon Brown in the State Senate District 26 with 940 votes over Democrat Deb Sharper with 446 votes. The election process was smooth, said Ben Steins, the Winneshiek County Auditor, who was also on the ballot. Okay, well, good deal. We're so glad that everyone was able to vote. Let's see. Next page. Kristen Vandenbrink tells supervisors that COVID-19 is out of control in Winneshiek County. That is a fact. Winneshiek County Public Health Director Krista Vandenbrink issued a stern warning to the Board of Supervisors and their constituents at their November 2nd meeting. We have got to start taking this seriously. This virus is real. It is not a hoax. We are in a situation where COVID is getting out of control. The local hospitals in La Crosse are at capacity. The number of positive cases in the county stands at 545, and I can't tell you how many people we have on isolation right now. While many are quite ill, most are managing their symptoms at home. We're seeing an increase in cases throughout the county and the region. While positive COVID-19 cases are abundant, the personal protective equipment used by healthcare workers as they care for their patients is getting increasingly hard to come by. There are shortages both locally and nationally, and that news is bad for us. Since we're more rural county area, we have more difficulty obtaining personal protective equipment. So, she ended her message saying any public official or person of influence needs to be wearing a mask and social distancing at all times. We need leaders to lead by example. Well, I think we can all say we'd be happy if people would wear their masks so we could just get rid of this illness. All right. Let's see. There is a religious section by Margaret Baird, the Oneota Valley Interspirituality Center. And she said, moving forward, hopefully with grace. Let's see if she has some good words of wisdom and inspiration. How interesting it is to be writing an article at this particular point in time. More exactly, how challenging it is, given that while this article will appear in print soon after this year's elections have taken place, as I sit here writing it, I am all too well aware that a truckload of election-related issues are looming heavily over many of us, and as a result, a lot of people's emotions are dangerously close to overflowing, have overflowed already in some cases. While I cannot predict what the outcome of this week's elections will have been, nor what events transpire on the heels of them, I am most sincerely hoping that before too very much longer, all residents of this country, voting and non-voting alike, find it within themselves to set aside enmity and fear and turn instead to working together every which way they can towards reversing the negativity that has prevailed these last many months. To be sure, we have been going through extraordinarily tough times. COVID, the derecho, rocky social structures, and unsteady economy, yet more have been major issues. So too, though, has been the pandemic of anger, distrust, misrepresentation of facts, and all other serpents, as Saint Teresa of Avila would have called them. Remember the old Chinese adage that says, crisis and opportunity are flip sides of the same coin. Maybe we should view our present time, present situation as the ideal time and opportunity to pull together and stride determinedly into the future with the thought in mind that there is a lot to be learned from all we have been going through. Also that just as negative feelings, attitudes, and actions are highly contagious, so too are positive ones. I would like to propose accordingly that no matter how this week's election turns out, or however long it takes for their results to be decided upon, we all must muster our very, very best selves. Dig down into those selves for our absolutely most creative juices, and that jointly we create a pandemic of positivity. I would also propose that as many of us as possible stop every so often and intone something along the lines of the Buddhist prayer a friend of mine once shared with her mother. And it is this: may all beings experience a severe outbreak of loving kindness, well-being, peacefulness, and general happiness. And that's her article. Well, I think we can all agree that we would like all of those things to be a pandemic and not the one we have. Okay, we do not have any current obituaries to read for residents who've passed. We may have one next week, though. Let's see. I don't know where this came from, though. There's an article. About the Decorah Marching Band. The Pride of the Vikings Marching Band worked through adversities during their 2020 season. Like many teams, the band faced changes that shaped the progression of their show. Even the beginning of their season was pushed back due to COVID-19. When the band did begin practices, they were split between the 9th and 10th grade classes and the 11th and 12th grade classes. Full rehearsals were on Monday nights only, so the effects of the limited time in full band rehearsals continued on page 6 were apparent. The younger classes were not receiving as much exposure to the upperclassmen as in previous years. As a result, many were not as confident when the upperclassmen were not present. However, once students were brought back for full-time in-person learning, the strength and sound of the band changed drastically. The students found themselves more confident in their playing skills, and the sound of the band morphed to suit a more mature ensemble tone. Well, we are sorry that those students have had such a challenge with the pandemic. It's hard to practice if you can't practice together. Okay. Decorah Community School District Pumpkin Project is a success. Young people in the Decorah community participated in a school-sponsored pumpkin project. Families read favorite books and decorated their pumpkins to represent the title. So here you've got some kids with their pumpkin-looking books. Here you've got, green eggs and ham, and another Dr. Seuss book. And I can't read backwards, but let's see. That's Not My Cat, and Pinklicious. All right, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Well, good deal. That's a creative way to decorate a pumpkin. All right. There's a new playground that's almost done at Mary Christopher Park in Decorah. Decorah Rocks had a Halloween fundraiser. Over 100 people participated in Decorah Rocks Rockin' 5K Masquerade fundraising event. Nearly 1,000 Halloween and fall-themed rocks were hidden along predetermined route, which began at Doug Road Trailhead and extended to Trout Run Park. And participants received a drawstring bag courtesy of Walmart to carry found rocks. Together, we raised enough money to provide holiday gifts for 12 individuals through Helping Services program. That's awesome. Plus, it looks like they had a lot of fun. Okay, Decorah Library renovation update. Wow. I guess now's the time to do a renovation. That's the library desk where you go to check out your books. What? They are stripping it down to the bare bones there. It's going to be really nice when it's done, but I bet it's pretty dusty in there right now. Okay. Anything else? Echoes of the past. Vintage vehicle. Betty Starla of Decorah shared this vintage photo taken in March of some Decorah men in their motorized vehicle. And they're all Starlas. Imagine that. Wow, 1911. Okay, 1940, 80 years ago, Sandy's Cafe has a new amber room. What's that? The majestic amber room at Sandy's Cafe on East Water Street will be formally open to the public this week. An archway leads from the amber room to the cafe proper. The amber room is exceptionally attractive, and Mr. Sandy has been receiving many compliments from it. Frana Hall in Calmer will be the location for a blackout dance this weekend. What's that? There will be sirens, balloons, thrilling air show, and music by Thirst's group called Iowa's Best Little Swing Band. More than 300 boys and girls went to the Halloween party sponsored by the Decorah Recreational Committee in the Congregational Gymnasium. That's a lot of kids. 1950, 70 years ago, due to recent increases in operating costs, dairy produce groups in this area are raising prices as follows. Whipping cream is now 29 cents for how much? Half and half is 29 cents. Cottage cheese is 18 cents for a 12-ounce carton, and a pint of sour cream is 17 cents. All Holt Dairy Incorporated. I'm just assuming it's pints, because that was a pint. Some hunters around the Burr Oak area had a field day when they killed 23 rattlesnakes in just 2 days. Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing, hunting for rattlesnakes. Wow. Okay. 60 years ago, the proposal for development of a city parking lot at the corner of Washington and Main was approved and moves on to the city's property community. More than 95 years of history came tumbling down when the old City Hall building was razed last week. Do any of you remember that? I don't. The first stage in a 5-year program for developing colorful and modern Christmas decorations for Decorah will be put into effect this Yule season. The estimated vote for the general election for Winneshiek County is 10,438. That was 1960. Did they have a total? A total of 12,143 this year, to like 2 days ago. And in 1960, 10,438. That is not a huge increase. All right. 1970, 50 years ago. Decorah has exercised its option to buy the Care property and paid the balance of the sale price of $33,490. Among the Decorah Senior High office education students hosting their employers at a breakfast at the Cliff House last week were Beverly Benson, an employee of the Winneshiek County Extension Office, Betty Smith, Luther College Business Office, Luann Skame at Anundsen Publishing, Carol Fretheim, State Farm Insurance, and Carol Spildy of Thermogas. Some local auto body repairmen attended a board of directors meeting at the Central States Body Rebuilders Association recently at Garnavillo. Dr. Norman Ernest Borlaug, a native of Cresco, has become the first American since Dr. Martin Luther King to win the Nobel Peace Prize. He is the first cousin to Palmer Anderson and Mrs. Walt Grosser, both of Decorah. 2 Luther seniors are in jail after making a bomb threat on campus in 1970. Well, I guess that was the time for that sort of thing. 1980, 40 years ago, the Reverend Elwin Mack unveiled the architectural drawings and colored renderings for the proposed new church facilities for the Christian Life Center at dinner at Luther College recently. 30 years ago, area schools are observing Red Ribbon Week, sponsored by the National Federation of Parents for Drug-Free Youth. Jazz saxophonist Branford Marsalis and his quartet will perform at Luther Center for Faith and Life for just $12. Wow, that's pretty reasonable for 1990. 2020 years ago, Chuck Gipp, Conrad Fox, Rusty Kephart, and Roy Teetstorn, all of Decorah, have earned a Distinguished Service Award during recent homecoming festivities at Luther. And 10 years ago, the Decorah Library has a new copy machine. And I guess in the future, there'll be an article that says the Decorah Library has a new lots of things with all their remodeling. Okay, that's going to be it for current events for this week. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again next week.